There it is, 4,444 miles on the XT250 Yamaha Dual Sport. Hey YouTube, thanks for watching my review. I just noticed I pulled up. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna flip on all fours here. Happened on a little trip, so taking something over to buddy's house, so I'll buzz back home and then do the 4,444 mile review. Alright YouTube, here I am back home and we'll dive into this review. Now I've done a couple reviews before, so I reviewed this bike when I had it just a little bit and had about 600 miles on it, 800 miles, I can't remember. Anyway, my first video. And that focused on why I chose the XT250 as my first motorcycle, a newbie, beginner to dual sporting. I wanted something light, and I'll not talk about a lot of that stuff. But so if you're very interested in why I chose it, which the rundown real quick actually is low seat height, lightweight, 290, I think it's 291 wet, under 300 pounds. Simple engine, air-cooled, one-cylinder thumper that's torquey in the bottom and able to single-track it, technical stuff, and long maintenance intervals. Yay. I don't like to, I can wrench, but it's not my favorite thing to do. That is riding. And so... And that's kind of all the good things about the XT. It can do everything that you want besides big jumps and cruise down the freeway at 70 plus miles an hour. Now where I live, Utah, our freeways are 70 and some 80. And so if you're elsewhere, I mean, if I lived in a place where the freeways around me were 55, no problem, man. You can cruise 65 and have a little bit to go, but over 70 on this motorcycle, you are pinned out. And I weigh about 200 pounds, and with gear, 15 pounds more. I usually don't carry a lot on this bike, but when you're going down the freeway, it's just not made for that. Everything else. No big jumps, no hours and hours down the freeway. And I have cruised down the freeway just pegged out, and I was happy to get off. That's the way that goes with the XT. But everything else you want to do, awesome. I mean awesome. And this bike's been, for a beginner, very good about hitting the ground. And in my 2-year review, I talk about how durable it's been. And so, but with this review, 4,444 miles, I'm going to talk about some of the bad and the ugly. And the ugly is mostly what I've done to this bike. But there's a couple things that are, I don't know, bad. They're annoyances. Overall, this motorcycle's been really great for me as a beginner. And now that I've had it a couple years, I consider myself advanced beginner. I still go on. Now, some people would say the trails I go on are, advanced, but I don't feel that way. And I still have a much better rider than I was, but I still have some, technique things that I'm not very good at. And that's coming along. And this bike, I think I'll still keep it for a while. And the more and more I watch people riding this motorcycle and that, it's the rider. This bike is very capable. So if you're a capable rider, you can pretty much go wherever you want to go over big logs and stuff. And for me, that's a little, you know, I'm getting better and better. So let's talk about this bike in general. It's a thumper, one cylinder. Like I said, very, very long maintenance intervals. This engine hasn't changed much since it was introduced years ago, and is well known. Good owner groups that you can join. ADV Rider has a great forum. There's a few Facebook groups on it now that are really active, and XT250.com. There's a lot of XT225ers on there as well. A lot of resources to, and I appreciate seeing everything that people do and getting people trying different things, and we'll talk about a couple of those that I'm waiting to hear how they work out for some people. But this engine has been nothing but awesome. Fuel injected was added to the XT250 in 2013. I'm a big proponent of fuel injection. My rides, I'll go from 4,700 feet to over 9,000, and that changes the air fuel mixture, and on a carburetor that can be a little bit of challenge to get it tuned, you know, jetted. You might need to rejet, you might need to open some airflow, that type of thing. This XT250's fuel injection, after I'm up at elevation, it seems like it just adjusts and runs. It runs great at whatever elevation I run it at. So that's awesome. So and now as I go through this review, I'll mention some things, but I've done videos on a lot of this stuff, so I'll mention that and not go into it too much. You can go watch the video on that. And I'm sure you want to hear about the bad and the ugly too, and we'll go through that. So here we go. As far as brakes are great. You get a little bit of well, if you're really hitting your front brake hard, you might get a little pogo action on your front shock, but you have to be at a certain speed and a certain force that you're using on the brake to get it. I can't make it do it, but it's happened to me a couple times, so that's a bad, I guess. And you know, those are standard old school forks. They're just like a mountain bike for a big mountain bike fork. They're not an inverted fork, and they'll bottom out. But I've had a little. I guess this isn't bad. I've had a little interesting behavior when I'm coming down hard. Like I've lifted the front end up for a wheelie, and I come down hard on it. The fork compresses perfectly, but then it's like a spring sticks up and then shwunk comes down. Now that's happened a few times, and I was just lifting my wheel a bit ago, and it's not doing it anymore. So, and with my 4,000 miles being hit, I'm gonna probably take it into the Yamaha dealer and have them look at a couple things for me, and that's one of them. So, but that's the only complaint about the front end, and except, well, here's an ugly. Here's a real ugly that I did. You see that? So I was aired down about 12, 13 psi. I was in a really muddy, I was hitting this really muddy trail. I wanted great traction, so I aired down. I came off that trail, and I was zooming back to a gas station to air back up, and I hit a pothole and dented my DID rim, these are tough rims. So okay, that happened. As I'm riding, I'm like, I can't even really feel the difference. I know guys with dirt bikes, their rims are all dented up and they never bounce them. They're like, yeah, I don't need it, just go, So I can ride down the road at 60 with this, and it really doesn't. I don't notice it, but I'll tell you what, man. That happened, and I started getting, in 2 months, basically, my wear on this Dunlop 606, if you can see, way uneven, cupped like crazy. And that really happened after I dented this rim. I think it threw it way off balance. So you can say, look at that. You can say, oh, you really don't need to balance it, but I'm gonna get a rim. I hope I can find a used one, and I might have them put a couple rim locks on it across from each other to help balance it, and then use those to balance. And then I'm gonna have to get a new front tire because it's starting to get a little interesting riding on it. So that's an ugly for you. And I put on a skid plate. I have a video on that. You can watch that. But I wish I had more holes in it because I get a lot of stuff. I get a lot of stuff in there. I'll tell you. And I actually just got this is master cylinder, and it's pretty exposed. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know I do things that are a bit challenging, and I dropped this bike and I scraped it here, and I was looking, there's a nice guard. I just got it in the mail yesterday. I'm gonna put that on. I don't think I'll make that part of this video. I don't do editing, right? I just take a video. It's like one take, only take. I've started this second, the 4,444 twice, and then I'd forget something or say it, so I've started over, but that's it. I'm not doing that anymore. And, I really appreciate Moto Vloggers who put so much time and effort into their work. And you have, and they cover great subjects, and but I just can't imagine strapping on cameras and riding with drones, and they're getting awesome shots, and I love it, but I'm not doing it. You probably never see that from me unless someone sends me a GoPro. So, and there's some really good ones that I enjoy, like CycleCruza. Let's go for a ride. That guy, he does some great ones. He has a great one on his WR250R that he goes through everything, and that's an awesome setup that he has. And then for the XT250, you have Patrick, NoOnesWatche on YouTube, PineADV. He's really kicked up his content and looking to do more moto vlogging. I really enjoy his stuff. And of course, you got EveRide down in southern Utah that has just, his cinematography is great. His drone work is fantastic. He's a DRZ 400 guy. Well, he rides a lot of stuff. I've noticed he's been riding his Yamaha 250 that he tricked out with Rocky Mountain ATV and others. Been riding that more. I'm a big proponent of the lightweight sub 300. In fact, just talking about the 250 market in general for a minute here is interesting. Well, a lot less interesting on the Yamaha side. So WR250R, best in class, no doubt, on the 250 dual sport. Not making it anymore. Rumor is XT250 done. So Yamaha is not going to have a 250 dual sport. I mean, they have the T-Dub 200, great little trail bike. I don't even really call that a dual sport. It's a trail bike. You're not going to go down the road very fast on that thing at all. Not that you can. I mean, I read about a guy driving that from Utah to Alaska and back, so it's not like it can't be done. But Yamaha exiting the 250 space in the dual sport, so it's going to be very interesting to see, are they going to re-enter, are they going to ignore that lightweight dual sport? Because Kawasaki exited And hey, lo and behold, just a few weeks ago, KLX250 reintroduced. Fuel injection, pretty lightweight. I think it's 300. Oh, and CycleCruza did a video review on the new KLX250. So that's a good one to watch. And you know, Suzuki, they have the DR200, mild-mannered, nice little bike. I have a buddy that has one. And he put a DG exhaust on it and jetted it, and it's really peppy but you know, mild-mannered. And then you have Honda with the CRF250L and the Rally model. And I talked about this when my first reviews. Those are heavy, 320 pounds for this CRF250L. I think that's dry, and the Rally's even heavier. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting how Yamaha's exiting, Kawasaki's coming back in. So we'll see if Yamaha re-enters the 250 dual sport market. I sure, you know, whatever, but I like the segment. And I think I'll probably have this motorcycle for a long time. So, a couple of, I mentioned DG exhaust. I wouldn't mind getting a DG exhaust. And I saw somebody on one of the Facebook groups he's decided to upgrade to a WR250R and selling his DG. Hey, and if you're looking for exhaust for the XT250, my advice is to watch NoOnesWatching on YouTube, Patrick's video about his experience, and there's a couple others, but the FMF Power Core has been melting fenders on the XT250. So, but the DG, and once my friend got one on his Suzuki, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. You can see I dented my back rim a little too. That same incident. See that? No wear problems back here. Done like 606 on the back as well. Wearing just fine. So I put a rear rack on this bike, MX Racing. I did a video on that. You can watch it. I've said several times I really don't like the looks of these. I haven't done anything with them besides I busted one, replaced it with a shorty on mismatch right now. I did a video on that. You can watch that. Oversized foot pegs, DMO foot pegs, awesome. Although, hey, here's a bad for me. And so this is one of the things I talked about someone in the community's trying to figure out. So when you put a DMO foot peg on it, you're narrowing the space here between the foot peg and the shifter. And when you're wearing a motorcycle boot, that's tight, really tight. So there's all this stuff here, and guys looking at it and saying, you know, I could look at a TTR, something that would fit right on here, and maybe have the shifter out to there, which would be, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting experiment to see. Hope I was catching all that. Go on to here, just eliminate all this, right? Put your shifter right here. So we'll have to see if that works out. But if that's an interesting experiment for me. Oh shoot, here's an ugly. You notice what the owners might be going, hey, his sprocket guard is gone. Yeah, I smashed that sucker. In fact, hold on here. I got it open. So, here you go. It's a really thick piece of plastic with a damper inside of it. So, and you can imagine, stop my video. I'm going to be splicing 3 videos together. That's the most editing ever on XT250 all day. So, anyway, I must have hit this. I think I know when I did this. That was a good hit. But that's some thick stuff, and but I found a, you know, searched good deal out on Partzilla, where I got the replacement. But here's one thing that's interesting. So I found this part. I'm like, okay, I need this part. I'm like, hey, what's this? Part 15 damper and crankcase cover assembly is 14. This one, great, awesome. I'm like, huh, I better order this. So I did. I thought I was, and I got it. Awesome. But I guess this annotation here, when something's like this, that comes with, you can order it separately, or if you order 14, you get it. And sure enough, so here's my new one. It's already in there. So anyone need a damper? In fact, that's a noisy contraption right there. When you don't have this cover on, it's a lot noisier. I'll put this on today when I put on my master cylinder guard. So yeah, that's a little ugly that I caused. Oh, and here's another one. This was a bummer. So if you can tell, I have a tiny oil leak. Bummer. And what happened was, I'm changing my oil and I don't have a torque wrench. So I always kind of go by feel, which is, I need to get one. Yeah, so I go to change my oil and I had torqued it too hard down, and so I'm trying to loosen it, trying to go left, and I'm like, dang, okay, I'm gonna turn this just a little bit to the right to see if I can just, you know, break it loose. And oh yeah, I stripped it a bit, so it will not, it stripped like the threads at the very end or something. I can get it in there, but it will not tighten down. It wouldn't tighten down. So I had a substantial oil leak. You know, way too much. Well, any sucks, but yeah. So what I did was looked around, read some forums, and found some self-tapping oversized drain plugs. And people's success with those are varying, right? So here we go. Hold on. These are self-tapping drain plugs, so if you've stripped it out like I did, you can put these in. They're just a little oversized, and I started with this one because I thought, oh hey, those grooves are nice, that'll catch all the shavings. So I loaded up with grease, and I tapped it out with this, and then I took a longer one. I actually used this washer from the little one on the longer one, so what I have in there right now would be equivalent to this setup, right? And I wrapped it with Teflon, which can take heat, no problem. So now I have a teeny tiny oil leak. Bummer. Anyway, I'll get this Sprocket cover back on, and I certainly need to lube my chain, as you can see. And I use this stuff, Renthal chain lube, and because that's an O-ring chain, and all good there. It's probably a little loose, probably with this many miles on it. Probably need that adjusted as well. Yeah. So other things I've done to this bike, highway dirt bike handguards. So awesome. I love these things. And I did a video on that, so you can watch that. But the mirrors that fold in, the construction's awesome. They're great. And I really like the instrumentation on the XT250. You have all the basic stuff up there, but my favorite thing is you have a low fuel light that comes on when you have about half a gallon left, and when it comes on, it kicks off an odometer, which is awesome. And yeah, all good. So I want to show you this is this maintenance schedule for the XT250. I'm at 4,000 miles, and you can say, okay, you know, you need to do some of the other stuff because of the age, but basically you're checking a lot of things. Valve clearance is one I'll probably have the dealer do. I've never learned how to do that. And I had it done pretty soon after I purchased it, and I haven't noticed anything, so, but I should have that checked. But you can see it's like check this, check that, and the maintenance intervals are so long. I mean long. So it's like lube it up, check things, and ride, which is a good for the XT. Yeah, it's even engine oil change. Look at that. You know, this is the schedule: 600 and then 4,000. No, I've done it more. Most people do it more than that, but certainly not like some of those high performance bikes that are every 15 hours. No, I'll go ride. You go change your oil. Know what I'm saying? So I have a little fender pack on my MX Racing rack, which I keep my paperwork in there. Oh, I did put on, because of the highway dirt bike handguards, you need to put on a aluminum set of bars, which I did. I used the Tusk Mini High Bends, and I put on different grips, and man, I almost worn that out. That was a Pillow Top Pro Taper, and this is an MX. That's the one that comes with the throttle tube built in. Goes into the housing, but you lose a little space here. I'm probably going to go back to just using a throttle tube and a regular grip. And I don't think I've put anything else on here. Canon filter. Oh, battery. I put a lithium battery, and I'm telling you, man, you lose some weight. I'm trying not to put any more weight on, even though I am putting on a little master cylinder guard, which is pretty light. I got the one that I thought was a little lighter. So the battery, which I've had I know some people don't like the lithium batteries, but I've had no problems. This bike has an electric start, doesn't even have a Kickstarter kit available, which, you know, you could say that's a bad. Some people will like to have both just in case, and I have been out on the trail where my battery died like right when I got back. It was a challenging trail. I kept killing it, and by the time I got back, I got to the truck and I couldn't get my bike started anymore. That's when I replaced it. But and it's funny because you can see that here's where it was, and I wish they would just, but it's not machined to receive anything. So I wish they would have just machined it and put a plug in there, and then you could have added it. So I'll mark that as a bad, that you don't have the option of that. Oh, I put on these little knobs and screws. Do not forget knobs for screws. It's one of the, you can't see that. Hold on. So these used to be screws, and I put knobs on, so you have a little tool kit in here, and they have space on the other side as well. Some people put a front tube in there. Yeah, so it would have been nice if they would have given you the option. And here's another bad in my book. And you could say, well, that's just an annoyance, and it is. And here's what the deal is. This motorcycle has been sold throughout the world, but it's not the same everywhere. I guess that happens, but there's some really cool stuff that I wish I could get, or that came on it. So the Asian models, they have an awesome, well, their lights are nicer. They're low profile. and smaller headlights, smaller signals. The rears are way lower profile, so I'm changing mine eventually. I wouldn't have to do that if I had the Asian setup. And then they have a super nice grab handle built in right here, you know, and I would like that. I could have used that a couple times pulling out of the mud. And they got some nice color schemes. They have some genuine Yamaha accessories that I would like to be able to get in America. You can get them, but the shipping is cost prohibitive. And yeah, I might be getting a package. No, pass me by. And yeah, some nice color schemes. No big deal, whatever. But another thing is they're tubeless on the rear wheel. That's awesome. I would love a tubeless rear. So, and then, they make this bike in Yamaha South America, Yamaha Brazil. It's called the Lander. And it has right here, in and out for oil, lines that come up under here, come up here, and go to an oil cooler. It's like, yeah, that would be nice. I would love to have that. This is air cooled. And one reason I'd like holes in this is just, you know, maximize the airflow. But having a oil cooler would be great. I mean, I've never noticed any performance problems. I've never noticed myself overheating. But I rev this bike high. And yeah, I would like an oil cooler. So, and it's a little surprising, this bike, the rumor is that it's at its end of life production wise. It is really popular around the world. I love seeing everyone in the Philippines and Japan, everything they do on these bikes, really popular there. And that's on, you know, some of the Facebook groups. You see that. Fun. But there's a lot of accessories. They have a ton of aftermarket accessories that aren't available here, from like, there's a frame dampener that you can attach and all that. Maybe that's good because I tend to go, ooh, cool, I want that. It's always suspect if you really need it. Now, I would say I need a cover for this, or I'm gonna crack it. I swear, you can tell I'm not gentle. Yeah. So I think that's about it for this review. I don't know. I guess I said this in my 2-year review, that shock right there, and I told you my weight earlier. I had the preload adjusted on that, and that's not easy to get to. I had somebody else do that for me. And there are some engine. You can get a high performance piston. You can get a big bore kit. You can get a Race Tech shock. You can put different spring in the front fork. You can do all these things, but I think, just go with the XT how it is. If you want all that stuff, then you should probably look at a different bike. And I know a lot of people really like the low seat height on these, and so they're like, no, I'm doing that. So awesome. And I love seeing people do it, but I probably would never do, all those type of upgrades. If you did everything, I mean, you'd be putting parts on it that you'd be getting up to, how much you paid for the motorcycle. So, yeah. But as you know, if you don't, you haven't watched my other videos, I love this, the opportunity I have to ride this motorcycle. and have so much fun on it, and money well spent, rock solid, rock solid. I've talked about the bad and the ugly, but it's not much, you know. When you talk about a motorcycle, oh hey, I can't get everything I get in Asia, or I can't get a oil cooler or whatever. All this, it's a solid machine, solid. And you got people putting a massive amount of miles on these engines, 30,000, 35,000 miles on them, still going strong. So hats off to Yamaha for making a motorcycle like that's less, not very expensive as far as that goes. I bought mine used, and you can find them used. It actually always amazes me how you can pretty much find, if you're patient, you can find an XT that's older with like 500 miles, less than 1,000 miles. I'm like, holy crap, man! You just like never ride. I mean. And it's not like I rack up a huge amount of miles. Oh, I should say, I'm not a long distance. I don't think this bike is, even though some people do it. You can find the guy that's like a Yamaha guy. Actually, a guy who worked for Yamaha chose this bike to ride around the world on. And it's awesome. But, of course, he did a lot of upgrades. Everything, well, one weight, he had panniers on it and all that, so upgrade his suspension and all that. So, but I'm not a long, and if you were a long distance adventure tour, you'd want to do that on this bike. But that's not me. I'm a short ride guy. Like ride from my house, ride 100 miles from my house, a round trip, awesome. Put it on my back of my truck. I have one of those hitch racks. Take it camping and ride from camp for all weekend. Awesome. But to go on multi-day, long tarmac, no, not happening. But a lot of people that do that end up upgrading their headlight to a LED, so you can get more watts for power accessories. Which there's a really good article on Pulse ADV about doing that with the XT250. Really good. And yeah, it's all good. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. I had to pause that a couple times for things going around the house, and like I said, I'm not a big editor guy. I just, let's go for a ride. So, my ode to CycleCruza, and peace out for No One's Watching, and what's EveRide say? I can't remember. Much love on the Chan, whatever. So, you know what I always say, thanks for watching my videos. I wish I would have done this in one take. Splice some stuff together. Ask me any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And my sign off on XT250 all day, you know what that is. Ride safe, everybody.